Welcome back to the channel. I'm Glenn.
Hi, Maureen.
Did you know every year there are several moose attacks on humans? They can stomp, they can kick, and they can trample. Today we're going to talk about it right here on Cabin Life. Come on in. Well, folks, in all our 9 years being here at our off-grid cabin and at our homestead here on our 40 acres in Ontario, Canada, we have never had an off-grid traffic jam.
A mama moose and her calf were feeding along our trail, and they blocked our way to the cabin.
I said to Maureen, if that moose starts coming our way, we gotta get off the trail. And then, as we watched from a distance and in a non-threatening way, she started walking our way. I said to Maureen, she's coming, she's coming.
She's coming.
And Maureen bolted.
I ran.
Let's go off to the side.
I was heading for a bunch of trees that I knew we could hide in.
Oh, don't fall down.
Now, I'm sure in Maureen's mind that she had visions of a charging moose coming down the trail at her, and she probably just wanted to get off the trail as fast as she possibly could.
So down I went.
I was shocked when I saw you fall. I knew that was just going to, if the moose was coming, it was going to totally slow us down. That was the fastest 100-yard dash that I've ever seen you do.
Yeah, well, I was aiming for those trees.
In hindsight, there was a group of trees about 10 steps away from us that we could have gone to. If I had have said to Maureen before the moose was coming, if I'd have said, there's some trees there. If the moose comes, that's where we need to go. But I didn't, so it was my fault. She just bolted and kept going. I couldn't even catch up to her. So
let's go off to the side. Get off to the side. Oh, don't fall down.
So what was your feelings? What was going through your mind when I said, she's coming?
I just thought it was a protective mom deciding that we had been standing there too long watching her, and she had had enough of us.
She's coming.
And one thing I thought, well, they always joke about if you're the first person running, then you're probably better off than the last person running. But really, in all seriousness, the only really good bunch of trees I knew of, I was heading to, that I thought for sure we could hide in there. And didn't make it.
So when I saw Maureen fall into the snow, I thought, oh no, this could be bad. We've got to get her up as quickly as possible. If the moose is coming behind us, then we have to get to those trees, into the clump of trees. But I want to make sure that you got up and that you were all right. And you said you weren't hurt. So then I had to make sure to check up the trail, make sure that moose wasn't coming. As it turns out, the moose wasn't coming. The moose, I think, only was taking a step and a half, 2 steps toward us, trying to get to the next tree where she could feed. I don't think she was coming at us, and I don't think she was charging us either. But better be prepared and safe than sorry. No, as it turned out, we weren't being charged from what I could see. When I went back, I saw the moose's footprints and so forth, and she just looped back into the bush, kept feeding on those maple saplings. It was amazing to see her feeding on those saplings, the thickness of the twigs and whatnot. She's just chomping off with her teeth, eh?
It looked like someone munching on carrots. She just bit them off and crunch, crunch, crunch. It was. Thank you to all of the viewers' concerns and questions. I am fine. Luckily, I didn't hit any rock or sticks or anything when I fell down through that soft snow, but I am good. Thank you.
The snow was too deep to hit anything. It was way steep. It was all fluffy and whatnot. It would have been hard to trudge through that, though, through the bush. So
I ran. I stepped into snow that was really deep. I flew forward. You ever see that? You know, if you see the movies where someone's running and then all of a sudden the momentum keeps going. While I was running, I stepped into the snow. I know it looks like I climbed onto it. I watched the video over and over and over again.
I thought you did a face plant. I thought you did a big swan dive.
No.
Superwoman!
No, because usually
down.
If I have to go over a hard snow bank, I always kick my foot into halfway up to get a bit of
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
With the idea of flipping the other leg over. And it's always my left and then my right. While
So-
my left kicked, there was nothing to kick.
Nothing under her foot.
So my whole momentum of my body went forward. And yeah, it looks like it looks like I dove.
So it's
I didn't die.
It's similar when you're going to walk down the stair, except the step's not there.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
And so the momentum shoot me into the snow was not a healthy momentum at all.
It could have been worse.
Like I didn't get hurt.
We had a commenter that said, "You can't outrun the moose." That kind of made me think, maybe she wasn't trying to outrun the moose. She's trying to outrun me.
I really was trying to get to the trees. I wasn't trying to outrun you. I was trying to get to the trees.
You know, it's interesting how things can be open to misinterpretation, especially when you only have partial information. In hindsight, when Maureen was running down the trail and I had said to her, get off to the side, she didn't have enough information to understand that that was the best thing to do as quickly as possible to establish getting off to the side and not spend the time running away. That the time and energy was much better off spent finding trees that were closer to us to buy us more time so we could get into that clump of trees. And I know that you want to run as fast as you could, but you're not going to outrun that moose.
No, I knew I couldn't outrun the moose. I just wanted to get to them trees.
Well, we can't change the experience, but we can learn from it.
Well, we can. I did.
I should have had a sidestep trail cut to the side with the snow being all that deep and whatnot. But never having had a moose encounter, block our trail like that before. How many times have we walked up and down that cabin trail? 1,000? Like more than that. And we've never had anything block our trail.
In 9 years, I have traveled up and down that trail by myself during the day, the middle of the night, 3 a.m. Now, when it's dark, I talk. I talk to the moose. Hey, moosey, or whatever. But I have never run into a moose. I've never seen moose. Just once when I came out of the cabin. And I did talk about that on one of the earlier episodes. That spooked me because it was just around the corner. And that's it. That's the only times.
So that is definitely one of the things that I'll be doing is cutting a couple little side step paths, go 10, 15, 20 feet in and nice little round flat spot that we can go in, have a clump of trees there that we can go to. And there's a spot at the crest before the cabin, a couple 100 yards before the cabin. And we could probably make a spot in there, have a fire pit, build a teepee or a shelter of some sort that if we ever need to get off the trail and we could start a fire, at a moment's notice kind of a thing and something where we can run to immediately and get to that's fairly close to the cabin, not too far away.
Again, we had some comments coming in about snowshoes. Why didn't you wear snowshoes, Maureen? Well, if I was running down the trail, we didn't need snowshoes on the trail. To stop at the side of the trail, put snowshoes on, and then try to step up into deep snow, that is so hard. Good suggestion, throw on your snowshoes and that. Possibly use newer snowshoes that are easier to do up.
Yeah. Sounds good, right? Get the snowshoes on, then just walk across the snow and everything will be great. Even with snowshoes on, we got some footage there. Maureen walking in knee-deep snow with snowshoes. That's a lot of fun, eh?
Oh, it's so difficult.
Yep, and some comments came in, and maybe you should have a sidestep trail or a loop, a trail that goes around in a loop that we could go the opposite way. If one side of the trail is blocked, we could go to an alternative route. That's a good idea. Maybe we can make a trail, a loop trail, this spring or summer, before next winter. And that would be good. Well, it was quite a sight and one of those rare moments. Let me tell you something, folks. This woman here is a strong woman. We had a comment come in that, she's a liability or whatever, insinuating you didn't have strength. This is a strong woman. There are
Thank
different
you.
forms strength takes. And for a lady that has probably hauled up more thousands of liters of water up the hill and hauled that sled up how many times in the winter, and the trails that you've hiked along and trudged right along with me, nights in the canoe, sleeping in the canoe all night long while I'm recording wolves and loons and the wildlife, and she's been there right along with me, up the hills and through the mountains and over the hills and down into the valleys. This is a strong woman, folks.
Thank you.
She's a trooper and a keeper.
You don't feel like you're dragging me through all that stuff, do you?
I know that you absolutely love the feeling of being out there, but I don't want it to be at the expense of your health or well-being.
I'll let you know when I can't go. I think we just keep continuing.
Go till we can't. All
Go
right.
till we can't. I'll let you know when I'm done.
All right.
All right.
So are you scared of the moose now?
No, I've never been scared of the moose. Respect it. Respect it very much. Nervous when the moose starts walking towards me, but I'm not scared of moose. They just protect themselves and their young ones, and they'll, like most wildlife, they'll go the other way as opposed to having any confrontations. So I don't fear them. I just respect them.
So we try not to get too close.
Yeah.
And we weren't too close for the moose. She wasn't charging us. She may have started to feel a little uncomfortable, and that's when we recognized that, so we backed off.
I'm more nervous about moose when I have Jake with me, our dog, because it's not good to run into a moose when you have a dog, because they don't like dogs.
If anything, Jake can be a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah, moose don't like dogs. If they see a dog visually, they may try to charge the dog. Right. Usually we share the bear banger on the trail, but I think Maureen needs her own bear banger.
Yeah.
How would that make you feel better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And your whistle that you always carry with you, and the compass and whatnot.
No. Whistles. Someone says, what are you going to do? Whistle them a tune? Well, you know, a sharp, sudden sound will shock an animal. That's because they're not used to that sound. They don't hear whistles. It's not a natural sound. And I don't really want to use a bear banger on a moose. I'll use a bear banger on a bear that's coming close, or an animal.
Resort.
A last resort. But a mama with her baby, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah. Bear banger as a last resort.
Yeah.
You know, over the years, we've had numerous encounters with moose, and mostly in the car, in the back roads, and sometimes on main roads. But along our trail, we've had a few encounters on foot and face to face, but not to the point where it's blocked our path. And with this winter being such heavy snow, the snow is very deep, and therefore the paths are far and few between, and moose like to take the path of least resistance, so which happens to be the same path of least resistance that we like to take.
There's a moose. It's a bull.
No, we like to live in harmony, and that's the way we like to keep it. So moose can be unpredictable. They can be docile and calm one moment and vicious and ornery the next.
According to stats, there's about half a dozen or a dozen moose injuries on humans per year, which is more than bear.
And it's the cow moose that is most dangerous in the spring when they're having their calves, and the bulls are the most dangerous come mating time in rut in September, October.
I always thought a moose kept her calf for 2 years because they were so big. And we've learned that a cow, she gives birth to a calf in the spring, and that calf is with her all through the year. In the fall, she will mate again and still have that baby with her. And then the following spring, all through the winter, that baby, that calf stays with her. And then in the spring, she will chase that calf away just before she gives birth to a new calf. So they're at most, they're together with their mother only a year.
Yeah.
So they're really big as babies.
They grow fast.
Yeah. Now that brings to point, someone did ask in the comments, they said she looks pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, if she follows the regulars, She probably is. So we could be expecting a young calf.
Possibly. And even though that moose is unpredictable, we've seen her many, many times on the property, she is still unpredictable. It doesn't mean that we can necessarily trust her that she will allow us to pass by.
No.
All right. So again, in hindsight, after Maureen had her spill, and we got her composed and settled in, and I decided that I would go up the hill, investigate to see if Mama Moose was approaching toward us still, or whether she was feeding, or whether she ran off. And as it turned out, she had gone off into the bush. She was no longer there on the trail. If she was still there on the trail, we could have waited a little longer for her to leave. It was only 8 p.m., so, we could have waited. It wasn't that cold out. Or we could have gone back to the homestead and just waited until the next day. Our new viewers who haven't seen our videos wouldn't realize that we have a homestead that we had built several years ago, and we'd stayed at our cabin to live in it for the very first winter that we were here. And our home is partially on grid. We spend a lot of time here at the off-grid cabin, though. We have no running water. There's no electricity of any kind here. We do have a generator that we can run if we choose to now and then, but
I really prefer not to use a generator. Like, we have a gas generator. They're loud. They're noisy. If we have to, we use it.
yeah. But we have the solar lights, and we've got battery-powered stuff. And we prefer to be here at the off-grid cabin. It's set way back in the woods on our 40 acres, and it's very quiet, tranquil, and serene here. And that's why we like to share our experiences here. But I admit I was pretty intent and just focused on getting to the cabin. And I didn't want to use that bear banger, though, to scare that moose away. Well, we've certainly had an awful lot of views and new subscribers. Thank you very much for joining.
By the way, you can help support our channel. Glenn is a musician and a nature field recordist, and he has produced some wonderful music and naturescapes. There's loons and wolves and a variety of soundscapes. The links for the digital downloads are in the description down below.
Thank you very much. That's all for this one. I'm Glenn.
I'm Maureen.
We'll see you next time. Over and out.
Take care.